Time yesterday when we were talking, Anderson, it was going through an eyewall replacement cycle. We thought it would lose intensity, but it just didn't. At midnight, it was 175-mile-per-hour winds, ranking now as the 10th strongest in Atlantic Basin history. Making landfall at 6:15 in the morning, taking out both radar systems and 21 of the 22 weather observation sites. So we're not sure really how strong this was. We believe it was just 2 miles per hour away from a Category 5 strength. Now that it's offshore, rapid development in the eye, so we can really now have a pinpoint center and track from there. Computer models in great agreement, taking it away from the Turks and Caicos, but pretty close, I think maybe within 50 miles. And then the computer models only go so far. So let's look at the National Hurricane Center's plot, as they have it as a Category 3. They're believing that at day 4 or 5, come this weekend, it'll undergo some shear, meaning winds will kind of tear the system down. I think with the rapid eye development already occurring, we could see a Category 4 status, but I do concur that once it gets to the north, it's going to start to break down somewhat. So our cone of uncertainty takes us off the coast of South Carolina, but we can go farther than that. First and foremost, besides the shear, it's important to know that we're going to get out of those upper 80s ocean surface temperatures through the mid-80s, the low 80s, and hopefully toward the 70s. That'll help starve this engine from that extremely warm waters. But to really understand it, you've got to go back and look at the track of Jose. This is the longest living tropical system we've had since 1980, and it's still spinning off the coast of the northeastern U.S. It's caused some flight delays, but why is it still here? High pressures to the west of it, high pressures to the east. It's sandwiched in between these two, and it has nowhere to go. So let's look at the high pressure. If this hangs where it is and continues to be strong, we believe that we could see the system and Maria get shoved toward the Outer Banks and maybe hug the coastline. But if high pressure loses its grip, it'll slide more away from the U.S. Now, let's take a look at the other models, the European. Let's take a look at the U.S. When we put these next to each other, you get an idea of what we're watching. And blue is the European and red is the U.S. As we slide these through, you're going to be able to see that there is pretty much good agreement here, but both of them want to hug that northeast coastline. Now, the red one, the GFS, the U.S. model, it's made up of 21 separate models alone. Now, even though a couple of them take it into the U.S., Anderson, the majority keep them away. So that's important to know. We're not sold on this just yet. I mean, there's a lot to unfold. Typically, we are better at forecasting the track than we are the intensity, but this time around, that's a little far out to say we're going to have this system affect us.
You're watching AccuWeather, the most trusted name in weather, and I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Paul Williams. As we take a look at Maria, Maria's already struck the folks in Puerto Rico in a devastating manner, causing some of the rivers there, particularly near San Juan, to surge up to 20 feet within a very short period of time. We're expecting Maria to cross that same path that Irma crossed, but continue to move further to the north. But what are we expecting in the immediate future? First of all, we're looking at this storm to continue to stay relatively strong as a Category 2, possibly Category 3 for the next 24-hour period. And the impact, well, as we go into Thursday, we're looking at going towards the Dominican Republic, but it's going to move a little bit to the north of the Dominican Republic. Now, we're looking for now, first of all, we actually have seen that the storm has degraded a little more than the initial trackings would have indicated. So it's become not quite as potent, but it's still a strong or a major hurricane as a Category 2, Category 3. And with that strength, that we're looking for flooding rainfall to push towards the Dominican Republic, damaging winds, at least Category 2 to Category 3 strength, more with the way of inundating seas, and of course, hindered recovery efforts will continue to be the problem for Hispaniola.
Say the extremely dangerous storm knocked out power to the entire island, flooded streets, blew out windows in the capital of San Juan. Let's turn to Jennifer Gonzalez Colon now. She's Puerto Rico's resident commissioner, the island's representative in the U.S. Congress, in riding out the storm in a closet in Carolinas, Puerto Rico, just east of San Juan. How are you?
Right now, I'm fine, waiting until these winds to get over the island. We're still having winds of more than 60 miles per hour. So the officials are asking the people to remain at their homes because it's not safe yet to get out of the houses. There's a lot of flooding in many areas. We received between 12 to 35 inches of rain during this day. I mean, those winds began at 1 a.m. in the morning. We're still having those severe conditions and severe winds across the island. And one of the main issues is that the rivers overflowed. their banks. So it's really scary. We never had this kind of hurricane before, and of course the whole island is without power. And
I was going to. How are you talking to us?
I mean, I got extra batteries for my multiple cell phones because it's the only way to get to have communication. Actually, a lot of communication towers went down and are offline. So a lot of the people in the island do not have communication at this time. So that's maybe the reason some people and friends that are in the States are calling their families and people and friends in Puerto Rico, and they're not answering. Is because of that.
Wow. Representative Gonzalez-Colon, as you know, there's so many Puerto Ricans here in New York City, and I have Puerto Rican friends I've spoken to this morning. And frankly, they are very concerned about the poor neighborhoods outside of the capital. What do you know from those neighborhoods? Were people evacuated efficiently?
Yes, actually, still a lot of people are still being evacuated because of the flooding and the rivers out of their banks. This is the main problem we got right now. It's not safe to get out of each houses. In the San Juan area, a lot of people lost their homes in the areas of Fajardo, Loíza, Canóvanas, Carolina. A lot of people also lost their homes because of the heavy winds, especially people with wooden houses. I mean, those wooden houses are almost gone in many areas of the island. As I'm speaking with you, I'm still having heavy winds in my own house, and I mean, the house just trembled and during this situation.
Congresswoman, for our viewers who are watching across the 48 and around the world this afternoon, what can people do to help you and the people of Puerto Rico? What is the most urgent need? How can we help?
I mean, the most urgent need is going to be, of course, restoring the power on the island. And for that matter, I asked directly Vice President Mike Pence last night when we got a talk. He called me, and I asked him directly and some other cabinet members to send electric teams to the island so they can help us restore the power grid. The second one, the governor of Puerto Rico is doing like fundraiser for those people who lost all their belongings in this situation, and it's going to take a long time and a titanic effort to recover the infrastructure of the island. I mean, roads, I mean, bridges, and many hospitals are being hit directly by this hurricane. You will have that also in the hotels and metro areas. So we still don't know the full extent of the damage this monster hurricane left us here.
Well, I know the greatest fears are for the very young and the very old, and it's a good time for all of us to remember Puerto Ricans are Americans just like the rest of us. Puerto Ricans die on the battlefield for our nation. Puerto Ricans salute the same flag, and our hearts are breaking for you. And I know that this nation and the generous people of America will respond as they always do. All the best, Congressman, when we're thinking about you.
Thank you. As you just said, we are 3.4 million American citizens living here. There are more than 5 million Puerto Ricans living in the mainland. And, I mean, it's the third time in less than a month that a hurricane landfall in the U.S. soil. In our case, it's twice, Irma and with this Maria. And we've been managing people from St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Martin, the British Virgin Islands. We're giving shelter to them, but now we're going to need a lot of help. And I want to thank Vice President Mike Pence and FEMA Director Brock Long for their calls and their diligence. And they are already in the island, FEMA, working with the governor, working with the team. And we may need a lot of help to help the island recovery.
We'll be speaking to Brock Long in just a moment from FEMA. Jennifer Gonzalez-Colon, U.S. representative from Puerto Rico again. All our thoughts and prayers and all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.